Hey, welcome back to my channel Endless Pages. I'm Liv and welcome to today's video, which is my second self-destruct list. So if you didn't know what a self-destruct list is, the basic premise is I feel like we all have those books that have been sitting on our shelves for a very long time and they just keep getting ignored and not picked up. Some of them we're just not sure if we're ever gonna like them, so we avoid them. Some just get ignored because we keep buying new books and reading those instead. So the idea of this video is you pick a number of books that have been sitting on your shelf, or you know, or that you've been thinking about reading for a long time, and you pop them on this list, and if you don't read them within 12 months of making the list, then you unhaul them. This is my second time doing this. My last 12 months just wrapped up about a month ago, 2 months ago now, I can't even remember. And I really enjoyed making that. Even though I left most of them to the last minute, it still did encourage me to pick up books that otherwise would have been neglected. So I really do like this format of video because I feel like it is effective. So I'm back and I've got 10 new books that I need to get to. First up on my list is Legendary by Stephanie Garber. This is the second book in the Caraval series. I think I gave Caraval like 4, maybe even 5 stars. I remember really enjoying that book, and that was years ago I read that. Like, I can't even remember. I'll pop it up on the screen, I'll look it up. I can't even remember when I read that book, but it feels like years ago. This is a young adult fantasy. We follow two sisters, Tella and Scarlett. They live in this world where once a year this kind of performance comes to town and you can participate in the performance, like roleplay kind of vibe, and then they finally get invited to participate, and then Tella gets kidnapped by the performance's creator. And yeah, she kind of gets pulled into a dangerous game of trying to save her sister. I thought it was really creative, really fun, really fast paced, and I really enjoyed the first book. The second book, I'm not really vibing with. I have attempted to start this twice. I think the last attempt, I got pretty far. I got up to 194 pages in the last attempt. Oh, that's a cute bookmark. See, it's been a while since I picked this up. I forgot I had that bookmark. Anyway, yeah, so I got pretty far the last time round, but from what I can remember, because it was a while ago I think I picked this up, I was not enjoying it at all. Like, it was actually, I was actually really struggling through it, and it was just such a different vibe and such a different story from the first book, where I was up to, at least, that I couldn't do it. I don't think this is a spoiler. So the first book is from one sister's perspective, and then this book is from the other sister's perspective, and I'm just hating the perspective, and I think that's a big major reason why I cannot stand this book. So I'm going to give it a third and final attempt, and if I can't get through it or if I don't like it, I think I'm going to unhaul this, and I also have a copy of the final book in this trilogy finale. And then there's a whole new like spin-off series like with a character from this book, and I don't know, I feel like maybe it's a little too YA for me, which is disappointing because I loved the first book. So maybe I'm just not giving this enough of a chance. Maybe I wasn't in the mood when I picked it up the first 2 times, because I'm such a mood reader. I really got to be in the mood for something. So yeah, I'll be interested to see if I can get through this one, because if not, I think I'm going to give up with this whole universe of books. So yeah, sorry, I know this is really popular. Next up on my list is Go the Distance. This is one of the Disney like Twisted Tales. The only way I think of describing this is almost like Disney fan fiction, like alternate versions of our favourite Disney stories and movies. This one, if you couldn't tell by the title, is a Hercules retelling. Hercules is one of my favourite Disney movies, absolutely adore it. This one follows kind of like at the end of the Hercules movie, without spoiling, I mean the movie's from what, the 90s or whatever, I'm pretty sure it's not a spoiler, but after Hercules is made like, you know, a god, he regains his godship, they tell Meg that she can't be with him because she's not a god, so they give her an opportunity and a quest to become a goddess. So that's what this book is about. It's middle grade, so the chance of me liking it is a bit lower because Obviously I'm not the age demographic, but I want to give it a fair go because I do love the stories of Hercules, and I do want to give these Disney tales a go because I want to get into more middle grade. But yeah, I'm worried about this one. Next up is a book I believe out of the 10 that I'm talking about today has been on my physical TBR the longest, and that is The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh. This follows 17-year-old Celine, who is forced to flee her life in Paris to live in New Orleans, and she kind of gets caught up in the underworld of New Orleans. She gets caught up with this particular group, and then a body is found in their lair, and she kind of gets caught up in her feelings for the leader of this group, Sebastian, and his secrets, her secrets, and then the bodies continue to drop and everyone's kind of afraid that there's a serial killer. The serial killer seems to have Celine in his sights, and she decides to take matters into her own hands. In my opinion, the blurb is not great. I don't know why, it just doesn't, for me, doesn't seem to outline the story very well, and I'm a little bit confused by it. So maybe that's why I've been putting this one off for so long. I believe, I will put in big letters if I'm wrong here, I believe this is the author of The Wrath and the Dawn, I think. So I know that that is a really beloved story. So maybe this is going to be great and the writing's going to be great, and I'm not giving it a fair chance yet, but I'm judging it before I've even started it. But yeah, it's finally time to read this because it has been gathering dust for years. Next up we have Hunting Prince Dracula by Kerri Manicello. This is the second book in the Stalking Jack the Ripper series. Just quickly, that one was about a girl called Audrey? I feel like her name was Audrey. Yes, Audrey. And she is secretly studying forensics, which for her in Victorian times is very taboo because she's meant to be a proper Victorian lady. And then she gets like dragged into the Jack the Ripper kind of investigation. And this one continues on her story, but this time she is hunting Prince Dracula, which it's going to be an interesting change because the first book was about like a real historical figure, and this one is maybe leaning more into the fantasy. There were fantasy elements obviously in that book that I think I can remember. It's been a while since I've read it, but yeah, this one seems to be leaning more into the fantasy by the title. I think I did start this ages ago and it was a really boring start, so yeah, we'll see how it goes. Next up is a book I have zero recollection of buying. Like, I have no idea how it turned up on my shelves. Obviously I purchased it, no one else did, but like there is no sticker, so I don't even know where I got it from. I do not know when I got it. It just kind of appeared on my shelves, I guess, and that is The Petrified Flesh by Cornelia Funk, the first book in the Reckless series. I've never heard anyone talk about this book either. This is about Jacob, and Jacob discovers this world behind a mirror, this magical other world filled with, you know, your typical fantasy ogres, fairies, the likes. He meets this shape-shifting girl called Fox who leads him on all these treasure hunts and adventures to live in the good life. And then one day kind of all turns to shit and fear because his little brother follows him into the magical world behind the mirror, and a curse is spoken, and Jacob has to risk his life before his little brother is turned to stone. Next up is None Shall Sleep by Ellie Marney, a book about serial killers, right up my alley. I'm not crazy, I swear. This book is set in 1982 or something like that. We follow Travis and Emma, who are teenagers recruited by the FBI to interview juvenile like serial killers for information on cold cases, and then things start to go wrong and they kind of get pulled into like an active serial killer case, and then Emma kind of becomes a conduit between the FBI and this like really smart serial killer called Simon, who seems to be giving them information, but he is quite a manipulator. So that's what that's about. I love most things to do with serial killers and FBI and crime stories, so this is going to be one I really like, I think. Next up, I think, is my most controversial book on this list, and that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V. Ishwa. I know, this is controversial. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you know that this has been on like 15 TBRs and I've never managed to read it. This is about a main character, Addie LaRue, who lives in about the 1700s in France, and one day she makes this desperate bargain where she's able to live forever, but there's a catch. She will be remembered by no one she meets, so she kind of goes through history with this curse. But every year on her birthday, this guy called Luke comes to visit and asks if she's ready to hand over her soul yet, and she always says no. But then about 300 years after she makes the deal, she meets someone that remembers her. Again, with some of the other books on this list, I have started this several times. I thought the writing was absolutely beautiful, but it's very, very slow paced, and I think I just need to be in the right mood to read this, and I think I'm gonna absolutely love it. I think it's gonna be one of those books where it's like, don't worry about the slow plot or the limited plot. The writing is so beautiful that you just don't care, and I feel like that is going to be one of those books for me. I just need to give it enough of a chance. Next up we have Four Dead Queens by Astrid Scarlett. I believe I mainly got this book because Astrid is an Australian author, so that was a big inspiration for me purchasing this book. This follows a skilled thief called Carolee, and she steals this package from this messenger, which ends up with her getting kind of entwined in this big conspiracy that leads to all four of the queens of this world being murdered. She then is forced to kind of flee, and she ends up teaming up with the messenger who she stole the package from to try and figure out who killed the queens. And of course, as always, there are dark secrets that threaten their partnership. I have started this book several times. I was enjoying it, I wasn't hating it, so we're gonna give it one final chance. I cannot believe I'm gonna say this, but this book is gonna be my second V.E. Schwab on this list. Crazy, I know, because it's bloody V.E. Schwab. But that is The Near Witch. The Near Witch is kind of this old story that's told to frighten children. The story goes, if the wind calls at night, you must not listen. The wind is lonely and always looking for company. There are no strangers in the town of Near. We follow Lexi, and one night this kind of boy figure, Smoke, appears outside her house, and the next night children of Near start to go missing, and this mysterious boy starts to fall under suspicion of being the one that's taking these children, and Lexi needs to know about the witch that might just be more than a bedtime story, and about the history of this nameless boy. It does sound whimsical and fantastic, and this has just been neglected, sitting at the bottom of my shelf, kind of forgotten about, which is sad. The final book on my list is The Infinity Courts by Akemi Dawn Bowman. How gorgeous is this cover? Like, I love the lighting on her, and the pink, oh, it's gorgeous. The blurb of this is also really cool. We follow, what's her name? Nami, and she's thriving. She's just graduated high school. She's on her way to a cool party, but she's murdered before she can get there. She wakes up in this afterlife, which is called Infinity. It's kind of where your conscience goes after you die, when you leave your physical form. And she discovers this kind of Siri type, like, virtual assistant that they use in this universe called Ophelia. She's running the afterlife. She's like acting like a queen. She's taken over, forcing them into servitude, as humans kind of force her to do. That makes sense. And yeah, this virtual assistant kind of wants to eradicate all human life. And Nami basically teams up with a group of rebels to save the humans that are in forced servitude. There we have it. Those are the 10 books on my self-destruct list. If I don't read them within 12 months of uploading this video, then they will have to be unhauled from my collection. Let me know in the comments, what's a book that's been on your physical TBR for so long that you've been neglecting? Or if you don't want to answer that and you've read any of the books that I talked about, which should I prioritize? Thank you again so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and as always, all my social media links are in the description below. Like if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in whatever the hell I post next. Bye!